Hi everyone, welcome back to the Extraordinary World Travels. I'm Dan Cope here, your tour host. And today we're going to talk about my top 5 favorite apps to use overseas to be able to communicate with everybody back home. So let's go. So number one app that I think most people use would be the WhatsApp. So the WhatsApp is used internationally, even like South America and some places like that. It's the app they use over texting. They don't use texting, they use WhatsApp. So WhatsApp, you can call, text, and anybody over Wi-Fi back home with somebody else with the same app. So a lot of my friends and family have the app as well, like most of these apps. That way if I want to communicate or need to get a hold of somebody, I can through the WhatsApp. Second app that is probably the most popular is Facebook Messenger. So as long as you have Wi-Fi and you have connectivity, you can use Facebook Messenger. So if you're in the hotel, around the lobby, in a room, things like that, so most people will communicate. So you can use Facebook Messenger, message back and forth. But in case you've never done it before, you can make calls on Facebook Messenger as well. I've done a lot of calls that way. And most people have the app on their phone already. Any friends or family, they don't have to download anything separate. So if they got Facebook Messenger, they can chat to you either, doing the social media for the day, or you can send them through a text app on your phone. So Messenger works really well. It's how I communicate with my best friend over in London all the time, is just through Facebook Messenger. So it's a great tool. Another great tool is if you have an iPhone, so you have an Apple iPhone, sorry Droid, this does not work for you, but iPhone iMessage. So you can see a difference when you text somebody in the color of the text. So if somebody else has another iPhone, you can iMessage over the cell network. You don't have to have Wi-Fi in other countries. I found this out when I was in Japan on a bullet train heading to another part of town, and I was able to get a text from my business partner, and I was like, oh, we both had iPhones, so we were able to talk back and forth. I didn't have to have Wi-Fi, I didn't have to have internet connectivity, but it was another Apple to Apple. So iMessage does this awesome thing between Apple users only, where you can communicate internationally wherever you're at in the world, and that's a free service. Now, if you want to make phone calls and things like that, it would be extra, but you can do iMessage back and forth just like your everyday texting when you're overseas. So friends, family have iPhones. One of the best things is use iMessage, and it's part of their network and you just know to go through. Another great source to use is Google Hangouts. Now, I've never used Google Hangouts, but I know you can make phone calls, texts, send messages back and forth, and it's all through Wi-Fi connectivity as well. So if you don't use any of the other apps, you can use Google. Now there is Skype. To me, Skype is the old school way of using it. I still have the Skype app on my phone. That's something I use all the time, but Skype is there. I would say it's the original one that Microsoft came out with, right? That's how I used to be able to always communicate when I was overseas. You had to have Skype, but now with all these other ones as well, it is helpful. But Skype, you could still call, text through the app, as long as you have some connectivity. One thing I've always used Skype for, why it's still on my phone, is if I'm in another country. I was in Prague and I wanted to make a phone call to a restaurant, I can use Skype. So most of all the websites when you travel overseas, you're looking things up on Google, things like that. If you click on it, it will usually, especially their website, it will use Skype. So you can click on that and that will it'll route it through the app on your phone, through Wi-Fi, and you're calling them through a Skype. So it's worked out really well for me. I still have it. I don't use it as much, but to me, it's always another backup. Those are my top 5 messaging apps that I've used overseas. Most people use that could be free services. Now, one extra bonus tip here is it's not free, but you could always use an international plan on your cell phone. So some of them have it automatically, or you just have to tell them that you're traveling. Sometimes it's just opening up a setting on your phone. So if you've never done it before, the best thing is get online, do a chat, talk with Verizon, Sprint, AT&T, whoever you got, and say, hey, I'm going overseas, what do I need to do? And usually good Google search, good YouTube will show you a little bit of that. I won't get into the details of that, but I've definitely used my phone extensively overseas, even data, the maps and things. When I've driven around Ireland or even Japan, we used data. So driving around in the mountains. So you can use the data and then also calls or text over the cell phone network. Sometimes you get so many allotted minutes for free. Most of the time you're paying per text or per minute of phone call. So a lot of times if you're going to really call somebody, wait till you get the hotel room, get on Wi-Fi, use some of these other apps so that way you're not using those minutes. But if you're ever in a bind and you really need to, you can use your phone. All right, everybody, I hope you enjoyed this video. Probably my biggest tip after this use a few of these apps. Download a couple of them. Get Messenger if you have iMessage or iPhone already, or if get Google Hangouts, Skype, and all those. So get 2 or 3 of them. The WhatsApp. Because that way, if one's not working properly or it's just not loading right, sometimes over Wi-Fi in these hotels or in an internet cafe, you're just not going to get the best reception. Sometimes some apps work better than others. Facebook's usually pretty good connection, so that's good. So in some countries, that social media aspect, it's not going to work so well, right? Because they might bog that down, or it might be like a filtered sort of website. Get the mix of different apps. That way you can always talk to somebody back home, or even the tour host as I'm there with you. So thanks everybody. Can't wait to see you soon. I hope these tips were very helpful.